time for the segment of the show we call Don't At Me, Bro. I'm going to take your questions on Twitter. I'm going to hit my side a little bit more. Send me your questions. I'm at Jon Rothstein. That's John, Jon. This comes from Dominic Stern, and it's John. One of your common tweets states that you think Gonzaga and Baylor are seemingly locks to make the Final Four. If you had to fill out your bracket today, what other teams would be left standing with them in your Final Four? Well, Villanova would definitely be one because they're going to be a 1 seed. And then I think 4 or 5, you have to look at Michigan and Houston. I love this Houston team. And as I said earlier, Kelvin Sampson right now is doing at Houston. And it's not the exact same thing, but it's comparable to what John Calipari did at Memphis when he was in Conference USA. It's very similar to me. Next question. I hate when I drop my spoon. I get the dressing on the end. It's always the worst. Connor Patrick, thoughts on Virginia Tech succeeding without Tyrese Radford, Carter Jara, and Cordell Pemsel? You know, I don't think there's any debate anymore that Mike Young should be the ACC Coach of the Year, and I think he's a dark horse candidate for National Coach of the Year. I don't think he'll get it, but I think he should be a candidate. The amazing thing about Virginia Tech is this. The core of this team, Cordell Pemsel, Justin Mutz, Hunter Couture, these were guys that were recruited to be mid-major players, and they're not just playing in the ACC, they're flourishing in the ACC. Ron Warman says, UCLA, no love from the experts. Why? Well, should be pointed out that UCLA lost Chris Smith, Pac-12, all Pac-12 first team preseason, to a torn ACL. And since that game, UCLA is 8-1. The one loss was at the buzzer to Stanford. UCLA has flaws. They're not great defensively. But again, they need to be given a little bit more credit. A massive game looming for the Bruins Saturday against crosstown rival USC. This is from Dustin Bleeweiss. And John, it's been a very disappointing few games for my Pitt Panthers. What has to happen for them to turn this around? You know, it's an interesting question from Dustin because part of what I think Pitt had to deal with after beating Duke at home was human nature. You get more attention. People are talking about you. People are writing about you. And if you're a program that is trying to rebuild itself, it's a lot harder to deal with that than for, say, a program that is already used to dealing with that type of attention. It's new territory for the Pitt Panthers. This is from Jared Dittmer. And it's John. Wisconsin has been struggling lately. I got salad on my index cards. That's never a good thing. Just don't want to pick up my dry cleaning bill with all this. A little tight quarters here. Wisconsin has been struggling lately. Do you still think they can make a run come March? Yes, I do. Wisconsin's obviously one of the oldest teams in college basketball. And this is not a cliche. Greg Gard would probably tell you the same thing. It comes down to shot making for the Badgers. One of the reasons why the Badgers were able to rally last year and win the Big Ten regular season title, they shot the basketball exceptionally better during the last month of the season than they did for all the months prior. Massive game for Wisconsin tonight against Penn State. Not just for Wisconsin to get back on track, but Penn State under interim coach Jim Ferry are on the bubble watch right now. Penn State's won at Virginia Tech. They've beaten Wisconsin. They've beaten Rutgers. If Penn State wins tonight at Wisconsin and gets 2 wins over the Badgers, they will be firmly in the NCAA tournament picture. Next question. Richmond Weaver wants to know, how do we explain the Clemson free fall after their COVID pause? Well, they're playing really good teams in the ACC. Another thing, maybe Clemson was playing a little bit over its head early and they had an experienced team together at the start of the season. But Clemson's equity will hold up long term unless they have a total free-for-all, because they've beaten Purdue, they've beaten Maryland, they've beaten Alabama, they've beaten Louisville. Clemson has a lot of big wins on that resume and a big game coming up against North Carolina tonight. Gil Bolberg says, can Western Kentucky get in that large berth in the NCAA tournament, or do they have to win the CUSA tourney? You know, I've watched Western Kentucky now probably close to 10 times, and I firmly believe that this is a team that can't just make the NCAA tournament, but it can win games and advance in the NCAA tournament. And it's more than just Charles Bassey, but this is one thing I want to bring up. On Sunday, when I looked at the net ratings and rankings, Western Kentucky was 81, Marshall with 68. Western Kentucky beat Marshall twice, won a game at Alabama, lost to West Virginia by 6 on a neutral court. I don't understand sometimes the way these metrics are rated the way they are, and the metrics are great. I love them. They're obviously a good base. Ken Pomeroy stuff, it's a tremendous tool, but it's not everything, and the net, again, with this example, proves it's very flawed. This goes from Henry the Puggle. And John, it's been a disappointing year for my Kentucky Wildcats and Georgia Bulldogs. Do you see any way either program can turn around their seasons and make a run in the SEC tournament? I do not. Next question. This is from FQSMU. Who in the AAC has the best chance to be a second bid? It is more likely that the AAC is a 1-bid league, 2-bid league, or 3-bid league. I think it's trending towards being a 1-bid league, personally. I think they may rename the AAC right now Houston Island. I don't see anybody touching the Cougars, but I will say this. Isaac Brown, the interim head coach at Wichita State, has done a tremendous job in a difficult situation and has put Wichita State in position to be the second best team in this conference. Wichita State, if it can make a move in the second half of February, in my opinion, would be the team best suited to make a run at the NCAA tournament.